it's been good, and I can right off the bat say that's something that was quite hard for me, is that the first few scripts took me forever to read. And that goes back to I didn't have a lot of experience reading scripts, which is what I wanted, and what I'm definitely getting out of that course is just kind of like a more literacy for scripts. So now I can feel myself going through them quicker, and just kind of realize that I have to get through this in a set amount of time. So just kind of breeze through them. So I don't get through them in one sitting. I haven't, at least so far, but I would say the first one probably took me about 3.5 hours to get through. And the most recent one, like if I add it up, it's probably an hour and a half. So that's a big switch, yeah. I have to say I really like Brick, even though it was really hard to get through. It's quite complex, but it's quite fresh, and film. It actually made me really interested in film noir, and I'm heading to the library later and get some Dashiell Hammett, is that right? Books. But yeah, I thought it was such a great concept, and I haven't seen the film, but I went onto YouTube to watch the trailer, and so I thought that was pretty neat and enjoyable. Well, my main goal as it stands now is to create stories for social impact. What I'm concentrating on now is learning the basics of what makes a good story, what makes people tick, what makes people, engage with a character or engage with an idea, and just kind of distill that enough so that I can bring it into what I'm very interested in, which is especially environmental values. Reading all these scripts and just I think it's a intensive course. I think it's quite demanding. It's not a joke. Absolutely. And I think that's good. I mean, some people thrive under pressure, and I think I'm one of those people, whereas I could be reading scripts on my own, true, but I'm not, and I haven't been. And by having these deadlines that I have to meet and this accountability for them, I'm really staying on task, and just, yeah, it feels great to have read 7 scripts now, and 20 by the time that we're done. So I think I read this book or this TED Talk or something about it, about how being an expert in something is having 10,000 hours under your belt. So the more work that we can put into this, the more engaged I can become, the more I'm gonna improve. Get a notebook before you start so that you have somewhere, because it's gonna take a lot of pages to copy down that script. Find a time, probably like 20 minutes before bed or 20 minutes at lunch, where you're gonna do the scriptorium. I've been struggling with that a lot, especially because I've been on holidays and my routine's been up in the air, and suddenly it's 11 o'clock and I'm really tired and I haven't done it, and it's hard to keep up, and then it's hard to make up for lost time. So really try to find a time to dedicate, and yeah, just enjoy the scripts. Get a Kindle app if you can, so you can read on the go on your smaller devices.
Great to have you online today. Marina, Deborah, David, Stephen, Kyle, Adrienne, Tonya, Melanie, Loretta, Christina, Sumi, Tamzin. Can't mention you all. There's over 50 people. That's about half of who had registered. Is there anyone from Europe? Because I know some people were planning on getting up in the middle of the night, having some sleep in the afternoon, then getting up in the middle of the night to make it. Who is logging in from Europe? Amel, I think if you're on the call, yeah. Yannick Nordensen, that sounds Scandinavian. I think Sweden. Freya, David, where are you? Mel is in Amsterdam. I know that, yeah, that's right. Yannick in Sweden, 3 a.m. That is the spirit. 6 p.m. on Friday. Marina, that must be Pacific time, I think. That's California. David is in Portugal. Welcome online, David. So, we have a mixed bunch of people. We have students from group 1, we have students from group 2, and a few people who have not launched yet but are serious about starting. Who is on the call who has not started the course yet? Let's see if there's anyone lurking to find out what this course is about. Who has joined the call but has not started the course yet? I think most of the people will be from group 1. The diehards who's set it out for 1 month now. Hi Maggie, Sean, Sarah, Catherine. Okay, so Claudia, first time. Good. Intro for Jules as well. Good. So hopefully you'll get something out of this. So, group 2 for Victor, Gita, first time. Excellent. So, I'm going to answer some of your questions. It is a new course and we are refining it as we go. So your input is really important. We had a survey a few weeks ago and I've looked at the results from that. A few things that came out of that was people wanted to know more before starting. A number of things only became clear as you had already started the course. That is because it's new and some things have changed as we started. But yes, I take that on board for the new people about to start over the next few weeks. They will have a better brief. Someone asked for more frequent webinars. That I will try, but logistically that'll be very difficult because I'm already running quite a few other webinars, and it's all about time management, and time management is probably one of your issues as well. But I take that on board. I love doing these webinars, so if I can do more, I will. Trust me. Some people ask for feedback to their work. Well, the essence of this course is that you learn to work independently. It's important for a number of reasons. First of all, to keep the cost of this course down. But there's another aspect, and I think maybe you haven't realized this yet. It's a course without tutors. You have to find your own strength within. I know that sounds very much like a self-help course, but it is true. Too many people rely on tutors, rely on gurus, mentors, and when those mentors disappear, when the money runs out and you can't afford Robert McKee anymore, then you fall in a deep black hole. If you learn a craft by yourself, your own tutor will never go away. So it's a much stronger way of learning, I believe. So no feedback for now. There will be a paid version of this course, I would imagine later, maybe next year. And then, yes, I will make time available to give people feedback. But, that it's only reasonable that when there's a greater effort, that needs to be rewarded. Still, some people find the pace of the course too fast. Now, this is difficult because other people ask for more scripts, ask for more exercises. Now, at the beginning, it seems to be a constant that some people have struggled with the release of a new script every 5 days, and some people ask for release of a script every 7 days. That we're not going to change. I want this course to be intensive. I really believe that if you're serious about screenwriting, which this course is designed for, you will need to put in that 1 hour a day. And if you put in the 1 hour a day, it is possible to achieve the work. A few people are not English native speakers. I'm not either. It takes me longer to read a screenplay than many other native English speakers. And if you're new to reading scripts, as you heard in the video with Daniela, in the beginning it will take a lot of time, but rest assured, over time you will power through a screenplay in 2 hours, possibly even less, and that will make it possible to achieve everything within the 1 hour a day on average. We'll talk about time management further in a minute. Someone asked for more quizzes. I love doing those quizzes. So if I find time, I will add a few. Clearer deadlines. That's a good one. I have not been 100% clear about what it is about these deadlines. How tight are they? How pressing are they? Typically, you would submit your work every 5 days before the new script is due. If you don't make that deadline, that's fine. The pledge you make is all about keeping no more than keeping within 1 month of the schedule. So if you were to submit your work past the 1 month deadline, if you wish, or 1 month later than the dropping of the next script, then the pledge will be triggered. If you keep within that, technically you're still on track. So the deadlines are not as how would I say, they're not as pressing as you may think they are. Good. Fenella, you've used the question button. Fantastic. So if you have any questions for me, write them in the same place where you enter your chat messages, but instead of just pressing enter, select question at the bottom. So that way it shows up and it's much easier to identify the questions. We also have Tom Davidson on the call. Thank you, Tom. He's also helping out with the questions. He's also in the group, in each of the groups, to help you identify the issues and then adding them to the frequently asked questions on the website. Hi, Tom. So on the website, if you go in the menu, there is a section that says FAQ, frequently asked questions. And as there are more issues raised in the groups, we will add those to the frequently asked questions. A few from this webinar may end up there as well. More time. This is the most occurring issue that the students have, is they need more time. And as I said, this is all about time management. If you are serious about screenwriting, you have to put in the time. There are no shortcuts. You can read possibly 1 or 2 screenwriting books in the time that you process one script in this course, but that information, that wisdom, that knowledge that you gain from those books is not real knowledge. That is knowledge that's borrowed. That is, it's not yours. Whatever you learn from this course is your own insight, it's your own wisdom, and no one can take that away from you. You will not forget that easily either. Good. So I'll answer a few questions. So let's look at the first red question I got from Fenella. Could you provide a document every 5th script to highlight points that we should have mentioned in our synopsis and help us check if our own work is on the right track? Brilliant question, Fenella. No, I cannot give you the document because there is no right way of writing your report. And for now, there is no right way of writing the synopsis. In the first group, I launched the synopsis ebook, and it's still for download. And I should not have done that maybe, because it works along a number of terms that you may not be familiar with and you shouldn't know. So I will work on a new document to assist you in writing the synopsis. For now, the most important thing is to just capture the essence of the story in 500 words or less. The rules are fairly fluid. You're not yet using these synopses in the marketplace. It's really about processing the story in your mind, and by writing that down, it forces you to do that exercise. In terms of there are really no points that you must highlight. As you do this exercise more often, you will find out for yourself what is the right way. Tamsin asks, how do we know if we are on the right track? You are on the right track if you're not burning out, I would say. If you're not burning out and you're not getting bored. What I mean by that is, right now it's about just doing the work. The results come by themselves. The work is reading the scripts, writing the synopsis, writing the report. Just to give you an idea about the reports, I've seen reports that ran past 500 words. I've seen reports that had 2 sentences. I'm not saying that 2 sentences is ideal, but I've said over the course of the past few weeks, I've read a few of the reports, and I think 250 words is probably reasonable. Even a few bullet points. If you have one major thing you learn from a screenplay, I'm happy with that. So there really isn't a right or a wrong way in writing these reports. David asks, I have a friend interested in joining the course. How can he do it? Just over the past few days, I've opened a new Facebook group, a new closed Facebook group that's called Get Ready. So in the beginning we started a Facebook group, and that group then became the course group, and it became very messy because a number of people didn't start the course, and they're just sitting around, and we want a focused group of people who are doing the work. So therefore now there's going to be a porch where people sit while they're preparing. It's the Get Ready group, and I can make that. What I should do now is really post the link to that group here in the chat box, and then maybe Tom, later you can post that link also in the 2 immersion groups. So if they want to pass that on to friends, if you have friends who want to join, then that's the way to do it. So I've just posted the link to the Get Ready group. That's where you send your friends who want to start as well. Now, the 2 important questions about the scripts. I forgot to ask, but last night I got a question about the choice of the screenplays. So I've chosen 20 scripts. And why are these the greatest scripts in history? They're not. They are, in my view, the best 20 scripts that I have access to in order to learn about screenwriting. And this will change. Over time, I will improve this collection. I already want to, before you guys reach one of the screenplays, I already want to swap it for one that I think is much better. But I only have access to about 2,000 scripts, and that collection grows. But there's only 2,000 that I pick from, and I've based my selection on a number of things. The film needs to be relatively known. If it's a produced screenplay, it needs to be relatively known. So if you wish, you can watch the film. In some cases, we have a film that was not a huge success, such as Brick, but it's become a cult classic. People adore it. Other people don't adore it that much. But in the case of a script like Brick, it's really interesting to see what are the elements in the screenplay that may or may not have contributed to the success or the failure of that film. And I think a number of people in their reports have indicated why this has not been a breakout success. So it's really a cult classic. I've also looked at the length of the screenplays, but primarily the clarity of execution. So most of them are fairly well written. They are fairly consistent with the standard formatting. Katara asks, join the Ready group so we know what goes on there to recommend it to other people. Can us already? I'm struggling to understand. Can you join the Get Ready group so you know what goes on there to recommend it to other people? You can. If you see benefit, just ask. Just request access and we'll give you access. So I don't see any harm in you guys being in that group because you can probably provide value to people who want to start. You can probably answer questions that these people have. So yes, if any of you who are currently doing the course, if you're interested in also joining the Get Ready group, by all means, just click that link and request access. Good. I have a second video. We saw Daniela Benavides, and it was a shame because I had video while I was recording it, but then for some reason it didn't end up in the file, so we only had her audio. But I do have video from Sarah, who is also known as Queenie Pensalfini, and there seems to become a trend in the webinars here that we catch people in bed. So Sarah too was in bed. We recorded early today, and I quickly edited it down to about 4 minutes. And Sarah also gives her perspective. Sarah was one of the first people to sign up. So let's watch that video. And meanwhile, if you have any questions, post them in the room, and I'll be back to answer them for you very soon.
I'm only a third of the way through where I ought to be. I keep trying not to say the word should, but where I need to be or where I ought to be. So I actually I have just about finished reading Rocky, so I'm 2 scripts into 6. I'm really behind. And every time I get so worried about the fact I'm really behind, I do my transcribing and I make sure that I do that. So I was even 4 days behind with that yesterday and caught up with that. But yeah, I have a really ridiculously hectic schedule at the moment, and I wasn't expecting it to be so bad or so full on when I said yes to doing the course. So in some ways the course is like this thing that I keep touching base with through the Facebook page and seeing where everyone's at and what they're doing, and I'm kind of feeling guilty that I'm not doing it. But I also know that once this show I'm in opens next week, and that kind of space in my head is kind of changed, then I can really just knuckle down and get it all caught up with in a matter of a few days, I'm hoping. It's a fortnight's rent for me. So I'm a single parent on a very low income. So to budget in to pay somebody a fortnight's rent is a lot of money. But I'm also an actor who occasionally gets really good gigs just now and then they fall out of the sky. And I've had a couple lately and I keep thinking, I've put out those invoices. I'm getting all this money. I can just pay Corel off and I'll never have to do this course and it'll be fine. But I don't want to do that because I really want to do the course, as well as the fact I don't want to give you or your nominated charity 2 weeks rent. I don't want to do that. I really want to catch up. And that's why I know, even though it's really niggling at me in the back of my head, I will be able to catch up with it. Well, in my case, I'm doing 127 hours. And so it's taken, nearly 30 pages for the clincher, the thing that happens at the beginning. And I've already been on this roller coaster ride with the character, and I'm noticing that the way the language is used in terms of even sentence length or the economy of the language in the big print really really kind of tells me how fast things are moving along. And I guess it's because I've directed films as well. It's hard for me to just read it cold, to not read it from the perspective of someone who's going to direct it, or I haven't seen it. See, that's also why I chose that one. The osmosis thing intrigues me, or the scriptorium. Just, I think I'm learning more by doing that than I realise. And I will probably continue to do that just as a practice, like as a meditative practice, because there's a lot of other stuff in my life that already makes me feel overcommitted, but that's something that I think I can add in. I do think it's working. And I'm being stretched in a number of ways at the moment, like professionally and personally. I'm getting a lot of work that doesn't normally appear in Hobart as an actor, so you can't say no to that. But I think I'm actually opening myself up more as a creative artist. That might sound a bit wanky, and I'm not surprised that this is happening at the same time that I am doing this every day, So as I said, as hard as it is, I'll sit in the theatre with a torch and transcribe because I'm thinking, shit, I can't read. I need to be doing something else, but I will do this. At the bare minimum, I commit that I will do this every day. And I don't think that the 2 or 3 different things are unrelated. I don't think that I'm getting more work is not unrelated to the fact I'm doing this. Do you know what I mean? That sounds a bit out there, but the more I am open to this, the more all these great things are happening, I guess, in terms of my creativity and my work and my networking, my interactions.
So it turns out Sarah is not the only one in bed. I understand that if it's 3:30 a.m. where you are. Daniel asked, what page number should we be in Scriptorium 1415? Don't really understand the question. What page number should we be in 1415? No, don't. Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. If you copy one page a day, then you can work it out. Again, if you fall behind by a few days, not a problem, because some scripts are longer than other scripts. So you will never be all at the same level at the same time. So Claudia asks, any advice where I can get the first webinar or info about the previous session so I know what everyone is talking about? Claudia, we can do that. I will, why don't you email me directly? You can do that by responding to the email you received as a notification for this webinar, and I'll send it to you. Some of these early webinars have the code to start the course, so I'm going to be cautious with handing that out, as it's better to keep track on when people start the course. It's easier to give feedback and to help out. Those who start at the beginning of the month should be around 29 in Scriptorium. Yeah, that makes sense. It's the 29th in the US when we record this. By the way, some of you may be watching the replay of this video, so the times and the dates may be out, and also some things that we refer to may have been fixed or may have changed in the Scriptorium. So apologies for that. Let's see. Les had a point. He said, my experience so far, Scriptorium is a drain, but the other components are very interesting. Rather concentrate on that. Les, that's an interesting point. I think people go for either one or the other. Most of the feedback that I've received was quite the opposite. People enjoy the hand copying and believe that that's something that works for them. Now, there's always an aspect of what you need to learn that doesn't 100% fit with your tastes or experience, and I think you need to sit through it. You need to do the work in the Scriptorium, otherwise it's a fundamental part of this course. Therefore, I would really encourage you to continue and to persist. Half an hour a day. Sometimes, as I posted a video over the past few weeks where you see me hand copy, and I did about 10 minutes on a page. It was an easy one with lots of dialogue, but it should be possible. Raul asks, is it possible to use these webinars to discuss the script that was already lodged, for instance, Breaking Bad or Rocky, next week? Next week there won't be a webinar, and yes, we could discuss screenplays, and I'd like to do that. I just haven't found the logistical way of doing it. I don't know how to involve you guys in that. And equally, I think it would be beneficial to share certain aspects of the reports with one another. So far, I've recommended you share your reports among your buddies, but it would be exciting to see some of those outcomes from the reports in the group, posted in the group. And I'll think about that. If you have ideas of making that manageable, by all means, please give me the suggestions, and I'll look into that. Katara says, I find it only takes 5 minutes in script because Katara's typing. It's a no-brainer activity to get you into study mode. Okay, I'm going to say something about that. I have recommended to hand copy, and that is, I think, the right way to copy these screenplays, just because it goes at a slower pace and the brain has more time to assimilate what's really happening. I also believe that you need to do a minimum every day, and 5 minutes may not be enough. Now, some people type fast. I type really fast. If you were to type in a script formatting software, it might even be faster because it basically does it for you. Tiang says, I find copying the script faster than typing. That is strange indeed. You are a strange woman, Tiang. Anyway, if you only take 5 minutes typing, consider hand copying and take a little bit longer. Take 10 minutes or 15 minutes. That's really the spirit of the course. Christina says, because the 5 days fall on different days of the week, I'm struggling to plan my time because some of those days I can't even give an hour to. Any suggestions on planning? You're not the only one who's asked for a 7-day cycle. I'll consider that, but in the current format, it's impossible. I won't change it, unfortunately, for the groups that are working now, because it will become a terrible mess. there is a benefit, however, and I think consider the fact that I'm forcing you to go against your normal routine, which you would anyway. If you're serious about writing, I don't think you can shoehorn that into your existing weekly routine. In fact, you need to build a new routine. In fact, I would rather see you spend an hour every day and not skip any days. That way it becomes natural. That way it becomes effortless. So although it does mess with your weekly schedule, and particularly people who have demanding jobs and families, it's a drain, and it is very, very challenging. But I think if you're serious about writing, and some of us do it as an outlet, as as fun, and are not as committed or serious professionally as others, I think this course would like to lay the foundation for someone who want to do writing professionally, whether that's screenwriting or even any other form of dramatic writing. That's a long-winded way for saying I think there is merit in the 5-day cycle. It goes against your regular routine, but I think it needs to, because you are building a new routine. And just see, because ultimately I think, what is it, every 35 days you'll fall back into the same. So you'll have a 35-day schedule that will be the same, and you'll have 3 of those in the course of the first, almost 3 in the course of the first 100 days of the course. After that, things change. Heidi too says 7-day format would be better. Deadline every Friday, regular deadlines. It makes sense, and I'll consider it, but it won't happen in the first few groups, I'm afraid. Tiang says, new to Facebook, how can I post things about this course for the group and not my other friends to see? That's really simple. Create a favorite for this group, and if you then go to your home page in Facebook, click on home, you'll have a left sidebar. You'll have a sidebar with links, and the favorites are in there, and then the group will be in there. So you click on the group. Once you've clicked on that group, anything you see there, anything you post, will only be for that group and not for your friends. It's that easy. Maybe someone is inspired to do a screencast for Tiang to explain how that works. Adam has a question. I'm rapidly losing interest as I feel we have a map with no destination. It feels as though I have a treasure map with no X, but worse, I don't even know what the treasure looks like. Where are we to go from here? Adam, were you in the introduction webinar? Because there is a very clear treasure. The treasure is what every beginning screenwriter wants, and it is called a first draft, a finished first screenplay. That's your treasure. For those who started on the 1st of July, they'll have it at the end of the year, 31st of December. So it takes 180 days to get there, but that is your treasure. And in the final 30 days of the course, you will be writing that screenplay. And I'll talk about that more in future webinars, how you get there. Daniel says, here's what I do. I read 10 pages of the weekly science screenplay, then I watch the movie, finished product, and compare, etc. I'm really surprised at how much the actual film is trimmed or changed from the original screenplay. It's a work in progress all the way to the editing room. This type of discussions I'd love to see on the group, and there have been some. Rocky had a really good active feedback chain, and let's do that for other scripts as well. By the way, speaking of Rocky, I'm going to plug the podcast by one of our students, Big Tim Stiles. He dedicated a sizable chunk of his weekly podcast to the study of Rocky, and I learned a few things from that as well. So just go through your member, and I think he's in the first group. Tim Stiles, you may find him also if you in the second group and you look him up on Facebook. He will have at least me and probably a few other students as joint friends. So Tim Stiles podcast about Rocky. Okay, Tiang says, may not become a writer. This whole exercise is so different. It's a pain-pleasure experience. So we'll persist, I think you mean. So Fenella says, cool, full draft in 180 days. There's our log line. Indeed, it's a clear treasure. Good. All right. Are there any pressing questions I have not yet answered? Now, in the future, I would like to get you guys on the video as well. It is possible. I've been hesitant because I'd rather iron out all the other issues. We had issues with sound at the beginning of this one. So once that is all running smoothly, in future webinars, I'd like to have you guys on video here, live, sharing your experiences and asking your questions. Technically, that is pretty straightforward. The same way you can see, some of you may see Tom's picture at the bottom of the image. So there will be a replay. In the replay, if I have the time, I'll add some high definition video as well. Here's a little trick. If you watch the replay on a mobile device, at least iOS, you will be able to forward. So if there are certain things you've already seen, or if the connection interrupts and you go back to the start, you should be able to fast forward if you're watching the replay on a mobile device. Heidi says, is it okay for us to share the scripts you have given us with peers? Absolutely. There's no monetary value. You haven't paid any, and even when the course will be a paid course, the money has nothing to do with access to the screenplays, because that would be criminal. It's illegal to sell scripts that you acquire for educational purposes. But by all means, yes, share them, but do me a favor, mention where you got it from, and by all means, spread the word about this course. I'm excited, and I'm hoping that those who are excited spread the word as well. David, sorry, I was referring more to the learning of the craft rather than the physical treasure that is the final draft. What I'm saying is, I don't know what I'm looking for when going through these scripts, so I don't feel as though I'm learning. Okay, Adam, the whole idea is osmosis. And osmosis is something that happens while you are not aware of it. So the fact that it's natural, because most of the formal learning out there that you pay money for is analytical, it's technical, it is with dot points. I mean, I teach that, I've taught that for many, many years. This is a different approach. You will be learning by osmosis, and the results will be there without you consciously being aware of the process of what happens. So just focus on your ultimate treasure, which is the final draft. Along the way, you really need to have trust in this process. I have done a similar course, and I was blown away with the results that I did not get anywhere else. So this process of copying, of reading consistently on a daily basis, inevitably will give you the results that you want. That said, I have halted my other courses for the time being. I will resume those, and you will have access to those. That will not be free, but you can go elsewhere. I mean, there's plenty of places where you can learn tricks, techniques, terminology about screenwriting. Make mistakes, fall down, get lost, repeat. Indeed, sire. Thank you. Daniel says, great, let's do it. It will be a learning experience, another perspective. Indeed. Jules and others, yeah, that's the group. Thanks, Tom, for giving that to us again. Oh, yeah, so Jules, you're lost because you thought it was an intro webinar. The idea, and I tried to be clear in the invitation, we have current students on the call. It's really about getting a flavor for what's happening, what are we doing. Jules, there will be an introduction webinar as soon as we've got a number of people interested. I think right now we've got about a dozen in the new group, in the Get Ready group. When we reach 20, I think it's worth doing an introduction webinar for you guys. Good. 45 minutes past the hour. Any final thoughts, any final questions? Launch them now. Otherwise, we're going to wrap up, and I'll set a new date for the next webinar. And maybe by then we'll be able to discuss films in more detail. Julie says things like inciting incident, act breaks, etc. Yeah, maybe not quite yet. Heidi says, I think you should change the course name to Intensive. Yeah, that was currently in the small print, but I invited you to read the small print, didn't I? I don't do anything that is not intensive, by the way. You should know by now. All right. Oh yeah, this is a question from Marina. Do you plan to do a webinar once per month? Indeed, that is the idea. So once per month, you'll have processed 6 scripts, and by then, I hope you'll start seeing results in the same way Sarah started to see. All right, good. Yeah, you've got a whole weekend ahead of you to get or keep on track. Thanks for joining. Keep the power, guys. Keep the faith and the joy. We've got some pretty amazing scripts coming up, and I hope you'll like it. Okay, see you in the fishbowl. Bye.